All right, let's dive in. Today, we are stepping right into the bizarre, wonderfully strange world of Shirley Jackson's novel, The Sundial. It's this masterpiece of dark satire that kicks off with a really unsettling question.
Now, really, just think about that for a second. What if the apocalypse happened and the only people left on Earth were you and your most difficult, dysfunctional relatives? Well, that is the wild premise that gets this whole story rolling.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at this very unique apocalypse. Then, we're going to meet the family trapped inside the infamous Halloran House. After that, we'll get into the sharp satire, dig into some deeper symbols, and finally figure out what this whole descent into madness can teach us about our own lives. Okay, so when you hear the word apocalypse, your mind probably jumps to zombies, or maybe a giant meteor, right? Well, Shirley Jackson's vision is something else entirely, something way more personal and claustrophobic. Everything happens right here at Halloran House, and you have to picture this place. It's this incredibly luxurious, massive estate. But it's also a gilded cage, totally cut off from the rest of the world, and it traps everyone inside, not just physically, but in their own minds too.
All right, let's crack open the doors and step inside. Because this is where the real story is. It's about this family and the prophecy that basically sends them spiraling. The story starts in the middle of a power struggle. The head of the family is dead, and, it's heavily implied he didn't just fall down those stairs. His widow, the absolutely formidable Mrs. Halloran, is making her move to take over everything. But then things get weird. And bam, this is the moment everything changes. Cousin Fanny, the quiet, timid one that nobody ever listens to, claims she got a message from her dead father, through the sundial in the garden, of all things. The message? The world's about to end, and only the people in Halloran House will make it. So, if the world is ending, who exactly are these chosen few? Let me tell you, they are quite the collection of characters. Let's get acquainted with this lovely bunch. First up, you have the matriarch, Mrs. Halloran. For her, this prophecy isn't about salvation, it's an opportunity. She immediately weaponizes it to create this intense, brutal hierarchy and cement her power over everyone else. Then we have Mrs. Halloran, who is just a masterpiece of absurdity. The world could literally be ending, and her biggest worry is what the dress code is going to be. It's hilarious, but it's also Jackson's way of showing just how deep and ridiculous our attachment to material things can be. And then there's the kid, Orion. And let me tell you, he is unsettling. He just quietly observes all the adults acting like complete lunatics with this kind of chilling, knowing silence. He's like a tiny, silent judge, seeing all the hypocrisy they can't see themselves.
Okay, so this isn't just a story about a bonkers family locked in a house, right? Shirley Jackson is way too smart for that. This whole thing is a razor-sharp critique of human nature, and she uses their madness to make some really incredible points.
So, lesson number 1 is all about the folly of thinking you're special.
I mean, this is really the heart of it all, isn't it? The Hallorans don't even question this prophecy, because deep down they want it to be true. Of course they believe it. It confirms what they've always thought, that they're better than everyone else. It's a brilliant takedown of that elitist mindset. All right, the second lesson is maybe a little more cynical, but probably also a little more true.
You would think the literal end of the world would change your priorities, right? Nope, not for the Hallorans. They are still fighting over who gets the best silverware and the fanciest bedroom. It's just proof that greed might be the most resilient thing on the planet.
And that brings us to our third big idea, which is all about how this insanity spreads. Halloran House basically becomes a psychological pressure cooker. You cut this group off from everyone else, you crank up the fear and their own egos, and suddenly, one person's wild idea becomes the gospel truth for the whole group. It's a terrifying look at how groupthink can spiral out of control.
Okay, so let's zoom out a little bit. Beyond the satire, the book is packed with these fascinating symbols and big questions that it never quite answers for you.
So what's the deal with the sundial anyway? What is it supposed to mean? Is it actually a line to the heavens? Is it just a symbol of cold, objective time marching on, completely indifferent to them? Or does it represent their own timeless, endless greed? Jackson just leaves you to wonder. Now, if you've read Shirley Jackson before, you're probably thinking of The Haunting of Hill House, but the horror here is totally different. Hill House is scary because of ghosts, the supernatural, things we can't explain. Halloran House is terrifying for the exact opposite reason. The horror is 100% human. The monsters are just us.
So after all this absurdity, what are we supposed to take away from it? Well, believe it or not, there's a really powerful and kind of positive message hiding in all the madness.
The book really reminds us that the Hallarans were so busy preparing for a new world that they completely forgot to live in the one they were already in. They locked themselves away, waiting for everything to end, and just missed it all. The real lesson here is to not wait for some crazy event to start living. True security is about finding your peace right here, right now.
And that leaves us with one last really unsettling question that the book forces you to ask. If the world really had ended, and this petty, greedy, completely delusional family was all that was left of humanity, did they actually deserve it? I'll leave you to chew on that one. Thanks for joining me.